And gun rights groups are pushing back on President Trump's comments, appearing to blame Alex Pretti for having a gun on him when federal agents shot and killed him. Pretti had a permit for his gun, and it doesn't appear he ever drew his weapon. But the DHS secretary, FBI director, and now the president have criticized him for bringing it to a protest.
That being said, you know, you can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns. You just can't. And you can't, listen, you can't walk in with guns. You can't do that. But it's just a very unfortunate incident. I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff.
Now the organization Gun Owners of America is responding, saying, quote, peaceful protest while armed isn't radical. It's American. The First and Second Amendments protect those rights, and they always have. And Gun Owners of America Director of Federal Affairs, Aidan Johnston, is here now for more. Hi, Aidan. Thanks for coming on. So what was your reaction when you heard these top officials and now the president saying Alex Pretti was wrong to have a gun on him?
Well, look, I disagree with those comments, and there's actually a number of ongoing issues where GOA disagrees with the Department of Justice's mishandling of certain Second Amendment issues. But by and large, President Trump has undertaken some of the most pro-Second Amendment actions of any president in recent history. And so while I appreciate the media's focus on the Second Amendment in the wake of what happened in Minnesota, gun owners are really left wondering whether this is authentic or whether it's just the media helping Democrats with their talking points and to gain one up on President Trump. I think there's a really big story here on Democrat hypocrisy that's not being talked about. For example, Governor Gavin Newsom of California, who literally advocated for repealing the Second Amendment, is now out there claiming to support gun rights. I mean, we had to sue Governor Gavin Newsom for this exact issue when he signed a bill to ban the carrying of firearms at protests in California. And the very gun that Alex Pretti was carrying, the ammunition and the magazines, in some places is banned in California. Meanwhile, not only at the federal level are we seeing Democrats feign support for the Second Amendment, but in Virginia, Democrats are actively trying to confiscate the very magazines that Alex Pretti was carrying. So we think at Gun Owners of America that all governments have to respect the Second Amendment, whether it's the federal or the state, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. We're going to hold everyone accountable.
Aidan, the White House says President Trump supports the Second Amendment, to your point, but that any gun owner knows when you're carrying a weapon, you're confronted by law enforcement, you are raising the assumption of risk and the risk of force being used against you. What's your response to that?
Look, you have a right to carry a firearm anywhere you have a legal right to be. The Second Amendment protects your right to bear arms. The First Amendment protects your right to freedom of speech. And there's nothing in the Constitution that says that you can only exercise one right at a time. You can exercise your First and Second Amendment at the same time. Gun Owners of America has always supported that. And it's really important that all federal officials, all state officials, all politicians obey the Bill of Rights.
The Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus says they're skeptical about President Trump's loyalty to the Second Amendment. Do you share that skepticism?
Well, look, I have carried a firearm myself at political protests. I have open carried. I have concealed carried. That's your God-given constitutional right. And at Gun Owners of America, we're not going to stand for any politician who opposes our Second Amendment rights. So it's really important when the White House press secretary affirms this administration's support for the Second Amendment. It was really important when Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche went on Meet the Press and affirmed that you can exercise your First and Second Amendment at the same time. And so it's really important that we see more of that from this administration. That's what Gun Owners of America would like to see.
You say it's a positive development that Democrats are defending the right to bear arms here. Do you think this moment could help bridge the political divide over gun rights?
I think it's really important that Democrats stop attacking the Second Amendment. It was never supposed to be a Republican or a Democrat issue. Our founding fathers put it in the Bill of Rights for everyone. It protects your natural right to self-defense from criminals, from a tyrannical government. And in fact, it didn't used to be this way. There used to be a contingent of Democrats, the Blue Dog Democrats, who supported the Second Amendment. And I think the first wave of Blue Dog Democrats lost their re-election campaigns when they voted for the assault weapons ban. And I believe the rest of the Blue Dog Democrats, nearly all of them, lost after they were forced to vote for Obamacare. And then finally, some MAGA Republicans finished off the very last Blue Dog Democrats. But that was a contingent of the Democratic Party that that supported the Second Amendment, that worked with gun owners of America, and we would love to have more Democrats to work with in Washington, D.C. So I hope that this isn't just a fleeting moment. I think there was some movement during the election where you saw Kamala Harris try to do some outreach to gun owners saying, hey, look, I'm a Glock owner. But that stands in direct contrast to the party policy where Glocks are banned in California, her home state. So Democrats have to actually change their actions if they want to win the votes of gun owners.
And Aidan, by and large, Republicans have also changed their stance on certain restrictions on gun ownership. Do you favor any at all?
No, the Second Amendment doesn't come with any exceptions. In fact, it says the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. That's what we believe at Gun Owners of America, and we don't believe in any exceptions to the Second Amendment.
All right, Aidan Johnston, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.